Atheism, according to the American Atheists website, is simply a rejection of the assertion that there are gods.
Alright, so this week we have Black Pigeon Speaks. Now, Black Pigeon Speaks decided to go out and make a video kind of bashing atheism, kind of bashing the amazing atheist, TJ Kirk, and he made this long, it's like a 10-minute video where he throws all these facts in and doesn't have an argument. I mean, the majority of this video can be summed up with an appeal to popularity. The argument here kind of sounds like, hey, I don't care what is right, I care what is most popular. I mean, if you want to go with what the masses believe and use that as the way that we should push our civilization, you have to look at what the masses believe. We got Islam, we got Christianity. Two wholesomely retarded worldviews. If we woke up tomorrow and the Islamic and Christian populations had doubled, well, guess what? They'd still be wrong. Now, he's going to go on to talk about how atheism is on the decline. He completely fails to mention how the more scientifically literate a country is, the less religious they seem to be. Might be a correlation, might not, don't know. But he uses this whole, well, there's more Christians, so it's no longer cool to be edgy and be an atheist. Not saying it's edgy to be an atheist is like saying it's edgy to believe that cyclopses don't exist. Saying it's edgy to be atheist is like saying, yeah, it's edgy to not believe that Zeus is your fucking god. You're also going to notice a lot of prepared defenses, kind of future-proofing his video. He says a lot of,
try critiquing this lack of belief in God, and the more vocal and smarmy among this community reacts with just as much vitriol and self-righteous indignation as the most fervent devotee to religion. Now, I'm already predicting the rebuttal videos that will, of course, have Black Pigeon Speaks in the title.
And shit that just doesn't have any fucking weight. He's basically saying, if you reply to this video, you're just triggered. Okay, so on those terms, we're gonna respond to his video.
Atheism is too often defined incorrectly as a belief system. Thus, to be clear, atheism is not a disbelief in gods or a denial of gods. It is a lack of belief in gods. Okay, fine. But good God, and no pun intended, try critiquing this lack of belief in God, and the more vocal and smarmy among this community reacts with just as much vitriol and self-righteous indignation as the most fervent devotee to religion.
Who is talking about atheism anymore? We get it. There is no God. We get it. We got it. I mean, who is this coming at you with vitriol? I mean, TJ Kirk doesn't talk about atheism anymore. Armored Skeptic doesn't talk about atheism anymore. Thunderfoot doesn't talk about atheism anymore. I mean, sure, you could say that I'm responding as an atheist right now, but I'm more responding for the other points that you're going to make in this video that are just complete horseshit.
But there are at least your garden variety YouTube skeptic or atheists that have shown time after time to have very little understanding of nuance or how human societies actually work.
Okay, this is pretty much building a straw man with TJ Kirk at the helm. I mean, if you're gonna go after atheism, go after atheism. If you're gonna go after TJ Kirk, go after TJ Kirk. But don't fucking paint atheists as something even remotely similar to this.
Which is, and I must stress, very different from the likes of Dawkins and Harris, for example. Which is fine, as this sort of weed-scented lack of belief and the need to shout it to anyone who will listen, while at the same time castigating and ridiculing those that disagree, is obviously coupled with a lack of self-reflection, and for the most part, these self-proclaimed leaders of no belief have an almost cartoonish understanding of theology, history, and human nature.
Okay, so you're talking about these self-proclaimed leaders of no belief, while only pretty much referring to TJ Kirk. Okay, so what's going on here is you're making a video against the amazing atheist, but you're masking it as a video against atheism, kind of. And you make some bold assertions. What was that last one?
These self-proclaimed leaders of no belief have an almost cartoonish understanding of theology, history, and human nature.
Okay, so what is really funny about what you just said is that you go on later in this video to say this.
I don't know him, and to be honest, I don't watch his content. Have an almost cartoonish understanding of theology, history, and human nature. I don't know him, and to be honest, I don't watch his content.
Okay, so you kind of aim this comment at a group of people, these fucking atheists. You kind of pinpoint it on the amazing atheist. You make a bold assertion that they don't know anything about theology and history, and then you say that you don't watch his content. Well, somebody's lying. I mean, honestly, how can you go and criticize somebody, or an entire group for that matter, for how they present their arguments without having watched their videos? Are you doing it the old old Cult of Dusty way, where you rely on other people to tell you what's in those videos? I mean, that is so fucking weak.
I should also preface that myself, as I've said previously, am not religious, but consider myself agnostic.
Yeah, having a mostly conservative audience would probably give some good reason as to why you don't say, oh, I'm an atheist. Yeah, no, I'm agnostic towards the fucking flying spaghetti monster. I'm agnostic towards Santa Claus and the Tooth Fairy. I can't 100% prove that these don't exist. I mean, I have no fucking evidence that they exist, but I can't prove they don't. I'm agnostic towards the fucking Tooth Fairy.
Thus, I'm not actually critiquing a belief that I have or one that I don't have. I'm simply
riding the fence.
And the key thing here is not whether atheism or theism is right or wrong, but the fact that atheism isn't growing. And the key thing here is not whether atheism or theism is right or wrong, but the fact that atheism isn't growing.
What you just said is so goddamn wrong. The whole key here is if Christianity is right or wrong. And it's wrong. It's fucking fantastically wrong. Same goes with fucking Islam and Mormonism and fucking Shintoism that you bring up later. The key thing is that they are wrong. So the popularity of the belief or the non-belief is a completely useless stat. What I care about is religiosity on the decline in my country, the United States? The answer is profoundly yes. I couldn't give two shits what China does or what fucking Korea does. What I care about is my country is becoming less religious, and that is only a good thing. I mean, who in their right mind thinks that rather an idea is right or wrong is null and void, but rather the popularity of the ideas is what truly matters? I mean, did you really think that that argument would hold up at all? I mean, you obviously did. You made a video on it. But if we were to go to, let's say, the Creation Museum in Kentucky, I bet you if you were to poll people, the majority of the people in that Creation Museum would be creationists who think that the Earth is 6,000 years old, who teach their kids that science is a lie. Now let's say you had a couple fucking scavenger atheists in there. You got 3 atheists for every 100 creationists. Does that make the idea correct? Fuck no. It makes the idea just as wrong as if there were 100 atheists and 3 creationists.
Put simply, atheism is the fastest shrinking belief in the world. Atheism is in decline worldwide, with numbers of atheists falling from 4.5% of the world's population in 1970 to 2% in 2010 and projected to drop to 1.8% by 2020.
Yeah, that's kind of a problem. I mean, we see what religion does to people, does to civilizations, does to large populations. So it's actually pretty goddamn dangerous that especially Islam is going to grow as much as it projects to grow.
Survey after survey after survey, built around statistical models, all confirm that while there might be a slight uptick in the increasingly hyper-diverse West, atheism is on the decline.
Yes, in China, in Korea, Russia, fucking India, the fact that atheism is on the rise in the West, and especially the United States, is something that we should feel pretty goddamn good about, you know, with people embracing reality.
I'm sorry to have to say that atheism is not on the rise, nor is it winning. It is still a small minority, and year on year, a declining one at that.
Atheism has always been a minority. It probably will always be a minority. But again, your argument is for what is most popular. My argument is for what is correct.
Even the vaunted Economist, in a study released on the 6th of September 2017, has finally recognized that it's not only a nation's income, but the correlation between gender equality and, for the purposes of this presentation, low religiosity that has led to the disastrously low birth rates in Europe.
Okay, so let's just forget that the article that you're referring to is a response to a tweet. A fucking tweet by Julian Assange that, while technically, yes, it does agree with what you just cherry-picked out of it, it goes on to show the inconsistency, the unpredictability, and a falsehood of the argument brought part by Julian Assange.
Now, I don't want to say this as a triumphalist. I myself am not affiliated with any faith, but I do espouse the cultural value of Christianity in an increasingly irreligious West, the same I do for Shintoism and Buddhism in an irreligious Japan.
Okay, so what you seem to be implying here is that because birth rates are low for white people, that we should instead focus on becoming more of a Christian nation in fear of being replaced. For you, it is the traditional beliefs of Christianity that you think is going to save the white population. As the population in our country would be more worried about falling behind scientifically. Other countries are blowing past the US when it comes to scientific literacy. And to me, that would be the biggest concern when it comes to the safety, the well-being, and the future of our population.
But all of the new research suggests a human society filled with more religion and less atheism in the near future. And one can even see the cultural shift in the last decade where atheism was seen, at least in online forums, as edgy.
As I said before, considering atheism as being edgy is equivalent to calling somebody who doesn't believe in leprechauns as being edgy, or somebody who doesn't believe in Thor or Zeus as being edgy. You can really take this overused word and apply it to anything. For instance, I could say that you are trying to be edgy with this video. You knew before publishing it that it would rile people up, and how edgy of you to speak out against atheists. You see how it doesn't really have any weight though? It doesn't really mean anything. You can say it, I can say it, doesn't mean a fucking thing, because edgy is just somebody, in this case your, interpretation of what edgy is.
Now, one of its largest and most vocal proponents, the amazing atheist, who has over 1 million legacy subscribers on his YouTube channel and has been making videos for 11 years, can rarely crack 100,000 views for a video that he uploads, even though if the titles of his videos are to be a guide, he rarely speaks any longer on his signature topic of choice.
So you bring up the fact that he's been around for 11 years, and then for some reason mention how his viewership is down and how he doesn't really talk about atheism anymore. Number one, atheism is kind of boring at this point. We get it. There is no God. There's not a whole lot to talk about anymore, hence why not a lot of the atheists that were big 3, 4, 5 years ago talk about it anymore. It's gotten boring. Religion in general is a boring subject. And the amazing atheist hasn't been popular in a while because he's not interesting anymore. He doesn't put out good content. He has had his time in the sun. I mean, you act like this is an anomaly. Like, he's been around for 11 years and he's got some shitty fucking viewership. Find channels that have been around for 11 years that still get the viewership that they did, say, 6 years ago. There aren't many. And the few that we do have, like Philip DeFranco, is a complete anomaly. This is simply due to people and channels becoming stale and stagnant. This has absolutely nothing to do with atheism. And your pursuit to make it seem like it does is extremely dishonest.
To put this into perspective, the amazing atheist has 5 times the subscriber base that Black Pigeon Speaks has. And I've only been making videos for 1.5 years, but my video view count is almost always higher.
I mean, this argument is so bad. It's like you're new to YouTube, like you don't understand how longevity works. If in 11 years you are at 1 million subs and still getting 700,000 views per video, then holy shit, congrats for you. But you're making an argument that everybody can debunk who knows anything about longevity. It's not even a YouTube thing. I mean, TV shows lose interest after a few seasons. That's why most TV shows only last a few seasons. You right now are thriving due to a political environment that caters to your ideals. This is why in the past year, we've seen channels like Paul Joseph Watson and Stefan Molyneux climb hundreds of thousands of subscribers. This is simply another evolution of what you would consider this edginess that people will be on board with for a short while, and your channel will slowly wither away like every other channel on YouTube will. You can see that making the argument that the amazing atheist doesn't have very good viewership anymore is because of atheism is such a dishonest take.
And despite distancing himself as an atheist who is amazing and trying to rebrand himself as a rational skeptic, trying to reformat his channel is dying. Because atheism just isn't edgy anymore.
His channel is dying because it's over a decade old and he doesn't make good content anymore. But was he really trying to distance himself from atheism? Is that why he changed his name from The Amazing Atheist to TJ Kirk?
So, recently I changed my branded identity. Actually, I introduced myself as The Amazing Atheist, but if you look at my YouTube channel branding, it now lists me as TJ Kirk. The reason for this is because I talked to Secular Talk, Kyle Kalinske, and he said that part of the reason for the huge plummet in ad revenue on our channels was because of the atheist thing.
And despite distancing himself as an atheist who is amazing.
Very interesting takes on it from 2 different channels. I wonder which one would have the inside scoop.
Now, to be clear, this isn't to disparage the amazing atheist. I don't know him, and to be honest, I don't watch his content. But it is to say that he comes from another time in YouTube history and is increasingly becoming irrelevant. Not because of who he is, but because of what he espouses.
Like I said before, if you're going to make a video on atheism, then go after atheism. And if you're gonna make a video attacking TJ Kirk, fucking more power to you. But what you're doing here is making a video that is kind of masked as a video toward atheism, where you're really just kind of taking TJ Kirk and strawmanning atheists as if this is the representative of atheism. It's extremely weak and extremely dishonest.
Paul Joseph Watson calls the right the new punk.
And nothing says punk like controlling all three branches of the government. Oh yeah, being the man, that is punk rock.
To add to that, in 2017, it's much edgier to be a Catholic, a Mormon, a Buddhist than it is to be an atheist.
Oh my god, just... like, honestly, okay, if you're watching this video, go back, put out a shit ton of shots, and go ahead and just take a shot for every time Black Pigeon Speaks says edgy and claims something is edgy. Honestly, if you want to talk about what should be considered edgy, I think it would be somebody leaving Islam and not being anonymous about it. I mean, nothing says edgy like the possibility of a knife in your throat.
Now, I'm already predicting the rebuttal videos that will, of course, have Black Pigeon Speaks in the title.
Okay, you obviously said this point so that you could kind of cover when somebody makes a video and says Black Pigeon Speaks in the title, and you can say, oh, hey, they're just trying to get those clicks. Yet you used a thumbnail of The Amazing Atheist for this video specifically. And who the hell wants to put your name in their title? What, so that they can get the inevitable hate from all your little fanboys that take what you say as gospel? I mean, I will be criticized for fucking months, if not years, for even taking a stance against you, because the fact that Black Pigeon Speaks could be wrong or even maybe full of shit is just simply fucking impossible. And it's not because you're edgy. I mean, you're as far away from edgy as you can be. You've taken this whole ride with Paul Joseph Watson and Stefan Molyneux. You're on the wave, and that wave will eventually crash down just like every other wave before it. You cater and pander to your audience, and you've grown a loyal and bloodthirsty fan base. And hell, it's not too hard to have an argument when you don't have to respond to any of the criticism. I mean, check your fucking ego. There is absolutely no upside to putting your name in the title of a video. I mean, the only reason for somebody to even make a response to you is because so many people let you go unchecked. I mean, I could easily go get the views by making a video about Armored Skeptic or making a video on fucking Jake Paul. Oh, I could get the views, but I'd rather call out somebody who deserves to be called out, whose arguments deserve to be challenged. So I figured I'd go after that big YouTube celebrity, you know, fucking Black Pigeon Speaks.
But the only point to be rebutted is the findings of Pew and the Economist, not whether atheism or theism is better.
The only thing that the Pew study shows is that religious countries seem to have more kids than irreligious countries. Now, this isn't a predictor, as shown the differences between Scandinavia, which is irreligious, and Italy, which is extremely religious, have about the same amount of kids per adult woman. This doesn't prove that atheism is dying, no matter how much YouTube evidence you've gathered. People are not leaving atheism in flocks to go be religious because it's just not edgy anymore. Now, I'm gonna be a fucking Buddhist because that's so edgy. Oh my god. No, it's because families that are, I mean, look at fucking Mormons. You have 2 people with 10 offspring. That's fucking ridiculous. If anything, this should be a concern. The scientific literacy of a country directly correlates with its progress. You can argue all day that the traditionalist way of living is the right way to, I guess, save the white population. But if you are worried about population, if you're worried about your country, you should be worried about the scientific literacy of not only the citizens, but the President of the United States. You can root for a religious population all you want, but pushing our civilization back into religion will only regress the progress that we have made over the past 500 years. Scientific literacy is on the rise, and religion is on the decline in America. This trend must continue if you want your country to be competitive, not a regression back into religion.
I am just a body in your